Just wanted to make another video. Wanted to speak a little bit more about the Mandela Effect. Uh, I can't say anything for sure, but there's a lot more going on there, I think. That's like positive, that doesn't get talked about because I'm not sure. I don't know how many other people might see it this way. Um, if you follow conspiracy theories over the past few years, or you're into like quantum physics, or you like movies like Waking Life or something, you try to get all your friends into it and they're just not feeling it, or like any of these heavier concepts, because it doesn't have to be a fucking conspiracy theory. It could just be something that's like, whoa, check this out, like there's more to this than we thought or something, and people are kind of like, that's cool, but like whatever, because ultimately they don't want their view challenged, and like that's a respectable point. If you just want to kind of be in your bubble, that's how some people want to live. I think though what we're seeing right now is, as far as the Mandela effect, all the videos we see, they're talking about corporation logos, moments in movies. um, what are some other examples, like passages in books, like the Bible even. um, and I kind of wanted to point out that I see like a common thread between all of those things I was talking about with my fiance one day. I was like, I think that all of the things that we're seeing skewed by the Mandela effect are all stuff that, over time we've seen. Maybe not these specific movies themselves per se, but like Hollywood as an institution, corporations as like a generic term, not just each individual, every single one, but especially like all the major ones and shit, the ones that like have control over everything. Or you figure out like Viacom owns all these other different fucking media companies. You thought they were two different ones, but at the end they're all like all part of the same little fucking tree branch. They're all stuff that ties in heavily with a lot of the Satanism that we're seeing in the movies and such. I was like, all the stuff that we're seeing skewed, it's all stuff that we don't have control of. We didn't initiate. We didn't make these things. They're all representative of the people who are in control. And I was like, well, it seems like whatever the Mandela effect is, it's kind of showing us that like that stuff it doesn't really matter that much. Like, look how easy it is to ignore the Mandela effect. You try and tell someone like, oh, dude, the Oreo logo is different than I remember. Like, when did Volvo get the arrow, or Ford get the little swoosh, or what the million Oscar Mayer, all the million Berenstain Bears? And people can just easily go, whatever, because that shit doesn't matter. It's all fucking like, it's not like tree composition is suddenly different and people remember like nature differently. It's all these man-made concepts, and not just man-made concepts, but like the bullshit ones. And then I started telling her, I was like, but we've been talking about like the flat earth stuff. We're like, we're not necessarily like that's the way it is, that's the truth, but like I'm not convinced that we're on a flat earth. I'm not convinced we're on a round earth. I'm not really convinced of like where we are, and that's kind of my point, is that there's enough conjecture to doubt things, not necessarily say we know for a fact. And I think that kind of tunes a lot of people off to even being open to these videos and ideas and stuff, is because we say like, no, this is how it is now, and it's like we can't say that. We're just trying to be like, there's enough fucking evidence to question, and that's enough to scare a lot of people. And not even just scare, but be like, dude, we need to look into this, we need to fucking figure this out. Flat earth is coming up a lot more people are getting like wind of that. The Mandela effect, the native African Americans that were indigenous, stuff about Antarctica that's just like kind of funky. And I feel that these things are connected because in the same period of time we're seeing all these man-made bullshit concepts that are designed to control people, that are part of a system that kind of sucks, even if they're not. Again, it's not all necessarily detrimental, but it's all like not serving us. It's not serving our greater purpose of unconditional love, collective like thought, inspiration, and just like feeling, expression, freedom to do those things, freedom to choose to interact with your environment, to praise life over death and not death over life, love over fear, all these basic, things. I think that the Mandela effect is two parts, and we've been largely covering and researching and looking at and observing one aspect of it, and there could be probably more than what I'm going to propose, but what I propose is that there's two aspects to the Mandela effect. One is showing us how silly and fictitious a lot of these like things we've occupied our time with are, and also some of these like deeper truths that are just coming out. Or if you've seen the video about how like some mountains were like once these silicone trees, that the composition of some of these sites on Earth, just geologically, that doesn't make sense that it just happened, that all these hexagons just happened to sit next to each other because a volcano exploded, even though we've seen volcanic runoff and it like looks like volcanic runoff. There's like huge chunks and drips and it looks like, you know, something melted and congealed into another spot. Whereas these sites, you know, I'm not saying that they were trees, but it makes way more sense than a fucking volcanic eruption. So again, there's enough evidence to question, not necessarily saying we know the truth, because we don't really know shit, and that's the whole point. But, you know, the Mandela, and the other side of the Mandela effect, we have one side that's showing us all these things we've occupied our time with are silly, but then you have all these deeper truths that are coming out. And it just seems like, in general, the Mandela effect, whatever you want to call it, is it's like saying, yo, check this out, look at this. If we were, you know, in Alice in Wonderland, it's the little bottle that says, eat me, try me. I'm not going to necessarily spell things out for you, I'm not going to give you answers, but like, I'm going to change your perspective, I'm going to shift your perspective. Instead of being this tiny little ant and seeing the world that way, how would you see the world if you were a giant? What would your connection be to it? How would you feel? So the Mandela effect is kind of saying, look, things are happening, changes are coming, changes have already been happening. Do you want to kind of take part differently, or do you want to keep doing what you've been doing? And there's no, at least I don't feel at this point, I've felt way differently at different points in my life, and it could change, it probably will change. I feel right now that there's no judgment in that choice. It's just a choice of, do I want to not be awake, but do I want to engage my environment this way, or do I want to engage my environment this way? Do I want to be a hermit that cuts myself off to everything, which I've tried to do? Or do I ultimately care about people, and even though I live in a world that doesn't really favor that connection between human to human, that is ultimately important to me, and I want to focus on that. I want to live in a world where that thrives. Or do you want to live in a world where the individual over the collective thrives? Or do you want to live in a world where everything's commodity based? Or do you want to live in a world that's like driven by passion and inspiration and art, or like war? And I think we all need to ask ourselves these questions. I think we all are asking ourselves these questions. You might not be checking out these videos, but you're sitting there going like, man, something doesn't feel right, and no, whatever, okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Or you're like, no, man, something doesn't feel right, and I can't shake it. It's like we're fucking Neo in the Matrix. It's not even, it's cruel how true metaphors and movies are once you can kind of take yourself out of the whole like seeing like truth and fantasy. No, that can't be real because it's just a fucking movie. You kind of start to go, damn, they're like throwing shit in our face. And like, I don't care what you want to call them, you know, if you had any grandparents, you know, that were psychic, or they tell you that your family's a little different, or you have like aunts who are like curanderas or fucking santeros or whatever, like, you know there's like certain things in this world that happen. You might not choose to engage in them, like, oh yeah, some of my family's on some weird shit, but I don't do that, but you're aware of it. And like, whether you call them demons or jinn or like archons or whatever all the fucking words are, there's negative entities in this world. And when we are in a state of fear and stress, anger, anything that weighs us down, anything lower vibrational, they can feed off of us. We're literal batteries. But the more we wake up, have a sense of purpose of like, nah, man, let me shrug off all these drugs and chemicals, and let me just look at the sunset real quick, or let me look at this, you know, the water. Let me look at the mountains. Let me just sit by this tree for a little bit and feel this breeze hit my face. And then you start to go like, man, we're living kind of messed up, and you stop feeding these archons. Or even if you don't do like the nature, you could just be like, let me just focus on my family. Let me be happy. Let me hold this light in my heart. I don't care if you're Buddhist, if you're Christian, whatever religion or doctrine or faith you adhere to. There's a difference between the type of person that just wants to be chill and says like don't fuck with anybody and like let's all just be happy. And then the people who take like any words, anything, and skew it to say like, no, we have to go fuck those people up and we have to tell them how to live like our way and you have to do what we're doing. Like, you know, there's a difference. There's people who are Christian in both those mindsets. There are people who are Muslim in both those mindsets. Some of the most beautiful people that I've ever met in my life with a calm head live by the Quran. Some of the meanest people I know just like hold the good book over everything else. And then there are others in both, and you know, fucking whatever. There's many different. If someone told you to go to a certain area of your city, you could take the way that you know to get there, the way that you think would either be quickest or you're most comfortable with, whatever evaluation goes into how you're going to take your route. But if somebody else wanted to go to the same spot, there's like how many different streets to get there, you know, to the same spot. One way might take longer, one way might go through a shittier neighborhood, one way could like, you know, hit the freeway, one doesn't. But you're all going to the same point. That's how I feel about a lot of world religions. We get hung up on like the differences or like, you know, lately it seems like everyone's talking about the extreme shit in the Bible that people believe in about like how they should kill people for leaving or whatever. Like I don't know what the various different examples are, but it's fucking silly. Because how much shit in the Bible talks about like, oh, you can literally go rape and kill those people and it's okay because they don't believe in God. We don't get down with that anymore, but it's in the book. We wouldn't touch the book because a lot of people find it so sacred that that would be like blasphemous. But like we still recognize like, oh yeah, there were certain morals and shit that were put in the Bible because people were like fucking animals and like we needed to spell out like don't do that. But like, yeah, we don't really need that lesson anymore. So we kind of ignore that part of the book because it's silly now. We got to stop looking at things as like separate from us, not because of some new age like we're all like just gonna lay down and wait for the wonderful thing to happen. It's because we're living in a period of great change. And think about what really separates us. I know a lot of people aren't down with recycling. I am, and I get a lot of shit for that. But like, you know, you might not have the mentality that like, oh, we all have one planet. But seriously, if we fuck this up, where are we gonna go? And if stuff got to the point where we realized that Earth was like crumbling, everyone would come together through that. It would be like a fuck, dude, we gotta stop fighting. We gotta focus on this like global warming. We gotta focus on like it's like that Morgan Freeman movie. What was it? Deep Impact. It's like we gotta fucking get ready for the comet that's about to hit. Doesn't matter if you're a Muslim when there's a fucking rock hurtling from space that's about to kill all of us regardless of what faith we hold. So I'm not saying we need to act like some cataclysmic events around the corner, but shit, if that gets us like to get the ball rolling, then maybe. But we just gotta stop acting like your skin's a different fucking tint. So I need to have a reaction to that. Like nobody has time for that shit anymore. Like it's funny how much they try and put the race wars and the games and the movies and everything. And it's like, bro, nobody's got time for that. I'm trying to download fucking apps to organize the shit on my cell phone that's so important. I'm trying to hit Facebook and go fucking ape shit over the latest thing that's happened on the news. And then yeah, when they tell you to freak out about race, like the fucking Colin Kaepernick dude or like all these other things, it's like, yeah, it's really easy to just get up and get mad, and it's so easy to get mad. It takes a lot more strength and kind of like energy, not just strength, but energy. It takes way more energy to like think about some shit than get angry. And that's not like me saying there's something mad with getting mad. I get fucking livid, you know, but I can admit that for me to lose my temper and just go like, rah, and smash it, that takes like 3 seconds, whereas like it takes 15 to go, well, you might have a point. Let me think about it real quick. And then either fundamentally disagree or agree, but you still got to take that time to like consciously think. And that's, we're not being conscious. We're just living in a state of like, not just instant gratification, but instant, I don't know what word I'm trying to find. Like, if something doesn't immediately grab our attention, like think about like watching like Netflix or something. Like, you know, it might take you might be like me, it takes you 3 fucking hours to go through the list to find something new that you want to watch. But like, say you finally decide to watch something. if it doesn't catch you in like 3 seconds, you're like, boom, on to the next thing. Like, and it's cool that we have technology that allows us to do that. I love that I'm not stuck sitting watching channel 2 or 5 and whatever they decide to put on at 4 o'clock. I'm like, no, I want to watch this right now. I want to watch that, and you can hop on YouTube. That's great, but like, we just, it's hard for us to turn that off and take 5 minutes, or think about whenever your shit shuts off. This happens to me all the time. I'll be gaming and PlayStation Network might go down for an hour, like whatever, and you just lose your shit. You get so mad, and you're like, especially if you work and stuff, and you're like, this is my fucking time to like not be dealing with all this bullshit at work, and like I don't have to do chores right now, and I'm not paying my bills. Like, why doesn't this fucking work? And it's harder to just be like, oh, let me fucking calm down and go read a book, or like something that I would normally do, but just because I feel out of power, let me just get so angry. But because it's easy to just get fucking mad. And I feel like it's why music that's targeted at us primarily, like youth, whether it's rap or rock, whatever the fuck you listen to, sure, there's avenues you could listen to that are calmer. There's indie music, there's underground hip-hop, there's like conscious stuff, but like, everybody likes some of that. But for the most part, the most popular stuff is like raw and like fuck, like just like angry. It's like just angry fucking. That's all it is. It's the difference between like how media is telling us to think and how we should think. I think if you compare it to like sex, it's like people that never know how to make love. They just like angry fuck all the time. That was that Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie Don John came out. He just only watched porn and thought like that was life, and he was just like, oh, and all these chicks. But then he meets Julianne Moore, and he's like, oh, dude, I love you so much. This is so much more fulfilling. That's like how we have to live our lives, dude. Aesop Rock, Aesop Rock has a sick fucking line in one of his songs. It's, life's not a bitch, you just call her that because she won't let you get that pussy. And it's like, if you look at life as your companion, bro, you gotta make love to life. You can't just angry fuck life, because then it sucks for both of you. And you, like, sure, at sometimes you gotta like get it in, whatever, like however that means. But like, you also have to take time to be like, appreciate the fucking sunsets and like, I don't know, all these stupid fucking metaphors. Now I'm getting off tangent, but you gotta think different to live different. I guess that might be something I say at the end of every video. I'm not intending to, but yeah, I probably should stop this one. I said what I wanted to say about the Mandela Effect. I think that there's many aspects to that. Things are shifting. Things are trying to present themselves. And one thing I wanted to say also about the Mandela Effect is that I don't think it's fucking CERN. I think that the whole CERN thing and like making that a huge, like, how do I phrase this? If CERN was really the cause of the Mandela Effect, they would censor people talking about CERN. It wouldn't be allowed to be on YouTube. Now, if there was some event happening that they didn't have control of that was trying to communicate to people, look, these people think they have control, but like, you're all waking up. You're in the process of this great awakening. And that was happening, and they knew that was happening, then they would want to create something that would show people, no, we're in control of this. We need to make people think we've got this. Let's roll out fucking CERN, and let's start getting some people making videos. Let's leak some documents, and then people who literally are trying to spread truth. I'm not saying everyone who has a video about CERN is fucking disinfo, but like, I think that it's easy to let ourselves forget. Like, man, if I had that much fucking power and control, I'd be so much more like, sure, I'd have the mainstream news and media, but like, I would control what kind of information gets to people. And if I really wanted to be cunning and I really wanted to be smart, the best kind of cage is the unseen cage. So you let people think that they're challenging the system, and they're not, and that's totally in your favor, and it's like psychological warfare, and it's fucked up. But like, bro, CERN is not the cause of the fucking Mandela Effect. CERN is that whole video with the dude wearing the Mandela sign. That's like, oh, they call it the Mandela Effect. Let's make some shit that makes it look like we're trying to hide it. But they're not. The shit that they do, they don't make it that obvious like that. It's not. The really sinister stuff, you have to kind of dig to find. Like, the shit we got going on with Italian food right now. Anything about CERN would be just labeled fake news, fake news, fake news, and it's not. So now you gotta start asking yourself, if shit that truly scares them is labeled fake news, we gotta look at everything that's not, I guess, being immediately decried as fake news. So that's all I gotta say. Uh, you don't have to wake up. You already are awake. You just need to know that you're consciously awake. Because if you're not aware that you're awake, then you might as well be dreaming. You don't have to dream to be in a dream state. And you don't have to be awake to be in a lucid state. You can be in a lucid state in a dream. And what they don't talk about a lot is there's an inverse to everything. Everything is physics. Everything is, as long as you're stuck in duality, in order to get out of it, in order to transcend it, which I'm not saying I've done, but it is a goal. It's something to keep in mind. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you can be lucid in a dream, you can be asleep on your feet. And that is the note that I will leave on. Fucking one love, fucking blessed be. Just stay happy, stay in a good mood. Regardless of what happens, anything that happens, anything that tries to pull negative things from you, anything that tries to give you fear and pull energy from you, it's afraid of you. And like, you just need to stay happy, and that stuff bounces right off of you, literally. And once you really, really can like shift that train of thought and thinking and the way that you feel, it's almost like nothing else will ever tell you. It's so much harder for things to take that power from you when you like know that you have it. So be conscious, stay aware.